All right, at 4:31, we'll call this meeting of the Kerrville Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Dorothy, could you call roll, please?
Yes, sir. Garrett Harmon,
Here.
Rustin Zuber,
Here.
Tricia Byram, David Jones,
Here.
David Lipscomb,
Here.
Cliff Tuttle,
Here.
Hunter Patterson.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Okay, item number 1 on our agenda is approval of the minutes from October 1st. Did anyone find any errors or corrections that needed to be made? If not, I'll hear a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. All right. Item 2A is a final plat for Quail Meadow. Drew?
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon. This is consideration and final action of final plat for Quail Meadow Subdivision, certain tract of land comprising of 1.23 acres out of the Samuel Wallace Survey number 113, abstract number 347, City of Kerrville, Kirk County, Texas, more commonly known as 306 Meeker Road. This is final plat. Had the preliminary plat approved about a year ago, right? So right about a year ago. Staff recommends the plat with no conditions. The first packet that went out did have a list of conditions, but these guys have taken care of all of those items with engineering in the last week. So staff recommends approval. Be pleased to answer any questions.
All right, and this is not a public hearing?
Correct.
Is this gated, if I recall?
Not yet, but yes, that was their plans, was to gate it. Fire department will require Knox box or Knox locks, depending upon what style of gate they go with, so that they do maintain fire access. It is a private driveway throughout the development. As you can see, it's an easement across most of the lots for that private driveway. That'll also include the fire lane for fire access.
Now, is this a development district?
No, it is zoned R2.
And so the lots, it's hard to read on here, I guess, 1, 2, primarily 1, 2, and 3 coming off of Meeker Road.
Mm-hmm.
We have that Burleson Boulevard, that access easement. Once you put that road in there, how does that affect the lot size for?
That is included in the lot size.
Okay.
Yeah, the driveway, that access easement is included in the lot size. They did go to the zoning board of adjustment for setback variances because of that.
Okay.
So they reduced the rear setback on these lots. Each lot will have at least 2 parking spaces per house as required by code.
Okay.
Other than that, everything meets the zoning code and subdivision code.
I drove through there and they are packed in there pretty tight, but not a whole lot different than the little neighborhood just north and west of there on Barker and Burleson.
That's right.
All right. Commissioners, any thoughts? Do I have a motion?
I move we accept as proposed by staff.
We have a motion to approve as presented. We have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, item 3A is a conditional use permit. Drew?
This is a conditional use permit to allow a short-term rental unit on approximately 0.97 acres out of the Samuel Wallace Survey number 112, abstract 360, more commonly known as 3030 Riverside Drive. 12 letters were mailed out and, of course, advertised in the Kerrville Daily Times. The adjacent properties are zoned single-family to the north, south, and west, and C3 behind it to the east. Subject property and the surrounding area are designated as transitional residential and community commercial in the Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan. Transition residential allows for single-family homes, single-family detached, patio homes, and other housing types. And this is a conditional use as allowed in the R1 district, of course, through this process. Should be no impact on the thoroughfare system. It is on an existing residential street. No impact on traffic is anticipated. Short-term rental does require 1 parking space per bedroom and an additional space for an off-site manager, which this will be the case for this one. They will have that additional parking space. There's the zoning map. You can see Riverside Drive is zoned R1. Along Memorial Boulevard is zoned C3 behind it. And there's a site plan of the existing house showing where they have parking, where they're going to include fencing and lighting. Again, commercial property back behind them. Based on the conditional use permit and the conditions recommended by staff, this is consistent with zoning regulations. We'll have direct access to the river as part of their property. Back to that map real quick. They do own those 3 parcels across Riverside, so they have direct access to the river. Staff recommends it with the following conditions: that they provide the guest notification, as you've seen in previous cases, for any of their tenants. They are required to comply with the occupancy tax as Chapter 94 of the Code of Ordinances. If they choose to use a sign, this sign language here is consistent with the home occupation for R1. They are required to have their minimum off-street parking as required by code, and of course, any other zoning regulations. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Commissioners, any questions before I open the public hearing? Okay, at 4:38, we open the public hearing. If anyone wishes to speak, approach the podium, state your name and address. Seeing,
Hang on, I got Ms. Franchini, is there anyone on the Zoom for this case?
We have no one on the line.
Okay. And I have 2 letters to read into the
Okay.
record as well. These came in this afternoon. My name is Mark Altgelt. I own the property at 3018 Riverside Drive. That's within 200 feet of the subject property. I'm in favor of approving the conditional use permit for a short-term rental. And to whom it may concern, definition of the short-term rental, or they're referring to it as a B&B. The commercial rezone along the Highway 27 side of the block without a buffer between both the residents to the south has destabilized the neighborhood. Neighborhood is currently in transition with high fences being erected and as a defense against the commercial uses behind it. The city in the past has badly managed the Guadalupe River frontage as an economic resource in terms of the development it has allowed. Today, there is also competing value against overdevelopment, which is preserving much of the natural beauty and habitat as possible. Overall, this type of zoning on the riverside half of the block provides an intelligent solution to the cited problems, which I see as a win for the neighbors and the city. The bed and breakfast will have a low impact on the river, yet provide higher value to the neighborhood. This low impact use of the river will not only help preserve the natural beauty and habitat and the trees to help stabilize the bank, which is an issue in this stretch of the river. This usage is more consistent with the zoning on the Highway 27 side of the block. Bed and breakfast are highly appropriate given the close proximity to Flat Rock Park and the river trail and the great usage of these amenities. Conclusion, the bed and breakfast can preserve the essential character of the river, which is in turn conducive to the type of tourism this neighborhood can generate for the city. And at the same time, provide an economic incentive for the neighborhood to upgrade and beautify itself. This is a win-win. Therefore, I am in support of the project, hopefully future projects of the same sort. Tom Hawkins, 3020 Riverside Drive. Okay.
right? And the first letter was from 3018?
Yes, 3018 and 3020.
There we go.
Seeing no one else approach, at 4:41, we close the public hearing. Now, Drew, is this conditional use for 3 lots?
They do own 3 lots or 3 tax parcels, but it is under one deed, one ownership. So it'll be for that one existing home that you see on the site plan.
The lots across the street are also a separate lot, so it's,
No, excuse me, they are part of these 3 lots. So it's 3 lots that actually run across the street. The street is an easement across these lots. Certain parts of Riverside Drive are platted, parts of them have never been platted. This section has not been platted, so they're drawn as 3 tax parcels, but it is under one deed.
so they couldn't build another house on that other lot under this CUP.
Correct. They would have to come back before the board, go through the platting and another conditional use permit.
But they could add on to this house in either direction?
Those are property lines, so
Well, you said they're tax parcels, which are not necessarily property
Yeah,
lines.
They can plat it as one. We could add a condition that it's tied to the site plan, but otherwise, yes, they could add on to the structure.
And I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily bad. I mean,
Right.
there's restrictions on how big a bed and breakfast can
Maximum
be.
of 6 bedrooms, and then they do have to provide the parking per bedroom. So if they add on the building, they have to add on the parking as well.
And so I guess it's a little confusing when you go back to that right there. It looks like there's 3 lots,
Right.
but so if they were to expand and cross those lines, do they have to replat? Or are those technically just tax?
I'd have to check to see
Okay.
if those are tax parcels. I'm not positive on that.
Okay.
But they're included with,
Yeah, they are included with this as
from
one.
the appraisal district standpoint.
Right.
So that 104.5 feet is the width across the back across all 3 lots.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Oh.
Or 3 parcels, not necessarily lots. Okay.
This dotted line that we've got on the, got anything of note? Well, it seems to be running parallel to what how they divided there, but I just wondered, it seemed to be that's not an easement or anything.
Which
Yeah.
line?
That dash with the 3 dots,
Yes. Go deep in your,
on page,
Yeah. I don't have the full survey. This is just a snip of the survey.
that looks like an overhead utility
Yeah, the
line.
overhead utility lines
I'm
is one
thinking
run.
it is, but I want.
There's one run to the next property as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Without the full survey, I don't know. I'd have to check and I don't think we have the full survey. This is what was turned in.
It would be on a legend that would
Correct.
indicate that, that would be my assumption.
Mhm.
That's the power drop.
okay.
So, Drew, you said, just to clarify, the biggest short-term rental you can have is 6 bedrooms. That's a maximum.
That's correct. The definition, I'll go ahead and read the definition for the public. Short-term rental is a facility located in a residential zoning district used for the purpose of providing short-term lodging for compensation, architecturally designed to look like a single-family dwelling, which may also be occupied by the concurrently as the residence for the owner, operator, or manager, or they can provide separate lodging units such as cabins, guest homes, or similar residential scaled structures with no more than 6 bedrooms total on the property, offering meals only to those who receive lodging, and providing that all bedrooms used as a permanent residence shall count towards the maximum 6.
This is just a general question, though. Is this conditional use tied to the structure or the property? Could they demolish that structure, build a new one?
It is tied to the property,
Okay.
unless we add a condition that it's tied to the site plan,
Mm-hmm.
which is not atypical. We can add that condition and make that recommendation to council, but as drafted, it's tied to the property.
Okay. I think that's fine, personally. Any other thoughts, commissioners? Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve the CUP for short-term rental as presented.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Item 3B is an annexation.
There's
Drew?
2 parts to this. The recommendation of an ordinance for annexation and a zoning change to IM, Industrial and Manufacturing, on 5 acres out of the O.V. Robinson Survey number 44, abstract number 282, Kerr County, Texas, more commonly known as 5275 Highway 27, and a zoning change from PD 1605 to IM, Industrial and Manufacturing, on approximately 3.2 acres out of the Kerrville Airport Commerce Park Phase 1, Block 1, Lot 1, City of Kerrville, Texas, more commonly known as 100 Airport Commerce Parkway. Ms. Franchini, do we have anyone on Zoom for this?
We have no callers.
Okay, thank you. You can see on your screen, I can get my mouse to work here. This property is 5275. This is the property proposed for annexation and zoning IM. This property is 100 Airport Commerce Boulevard, which is currently zone PD and requesting a zone change to IM. And these two, the goal is to replat those two into one lot. 9 letters were mailed out to adjacent property owners, as well as advertised in the Kerrville Daily Times. The existing property, again, is partially in the county, partially PD. To the north and east is Airport District for the airport proper. To the west is zoned industrial manufacturing, that's where Fox Tank is. And to the east is the rest of Airport Commerce Park, which is also PD 1605. The subject property and surrounding area are within Strategic Catalyst Area 11 of the Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan. Heavy commercial and light industrial uses are defined as the best uses adjacent to the airport. Since this annexation and associated zone changes are for industrial manufacturing, the request is consistent with the Kerrville 2050 plan. The subject property is on Highway 27, a primary arterial. There should be no impact on traffic. All parking requirements will be met through the approval of the design process as they go through any permitting or additional buildings. The applicant is requesting annexation to allow for use of city services for water and sewer. A request is also being made to zone the property to IM to accommodate the future business plans. In addition, a request is being made to change the zoning on 100 Airport Commerce Way so that the newly annexed parcel and the rezoned parcel be platted together, both into the same zoning district. As consistent with Kerrville 2050 plan and zoning policies, staff recommends approval of the annexation and both zone change requests. With that, I would be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
Commissioners, any questions before we go to public hearing? Okay, at 4:50, we open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please approach the podium. Do we have any callers?
Ms. Franchini, do we have any callers?
We have no callers.
Okay, at 4:51, we close the public hearing. Drew, is Fox Tank Zoned Iem as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And then further to the west, James Avery is also PD.
Is there a little sliver east of Fox Tank that's zoned something different? Like a lighter, here we go.
I believe that portion, I need to double check the map. That portion may not be part of this original PD. That may be part of IM. As some of these different annexations were done, I don't believe that piece is actually PD. And it's actually just an easement or a roadway to the property behind it.
Right.
I'm trying to get back to that zoomed in map. So that's actually the little flag of the parcel behind it, and that is their access to the highway.
So it probably will be connected to the IM.
Right. But I'll verify that with GIS and get that updated if there is a change.
This seems like a very logical use and zone for this property around the airport and other properties adjacent to it.
This is the property that Kildare Mountain Manufacturing is going into, so it will be manufacturing specific for aviation.
Sewer and water is already all along the front.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's sewer and water that runs down Highway 27. I believe City Engineer and Public Works are working on any required water loops as part of that development agreement, tying into Fox Tank and coming over to Airport Commerce Way.
And they already own the 100, that'll be part and parcel.
Yes, yeah, they own both lots.
Any other thoughts? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve.
Second?
Second. Now, do we have to have two separate votes?
Do not have to.
So we are voting to approve the annexation and to approve the zoning changes. That's your intention, Cliff? All right, we have a motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. All right, item 3C is a zoning change for a planned development district.
Yes, recommendation for an ordinance of a zone change for a planned development district, PDD 0316. And this is to amend the existing PD to add one land use for permanent cosmetic shops on lot 15 and 16, block 16, Westland Place subdivision, more commonly known as 401 West Water Street. The applicant's here. If you'd like to introduce yourself, if you have any questions.
Hello, my name is Britannia Dutchover, and I am an independent contractor at Shabby Chic Salon. I am a cosmetologist and have recently received education and certification to perform permanent cosmetics for eyebrows. That's shading and microblading, and I would love to add this service to our list of services.
All right. I'm not familiar with a lot of those procedures. There's no storage of hazardous materials or anything like
Everything is
that.
disposable,
Okay.
as just as the health department says it needs to be.
Okay. All right. Commissioners?
Is this allowed in other areas, just not in this particular PD? Is that the issue?
Thank you.
So the permanent cosmetics the land use table with the updated zoning code, we included that with tattoo shops. So the land use table does say tattoo shop and permanent cosmetics, and they are combined because the state license is for both. So it is the same license for the licensee as they go through their training. All health code requirements are the same because technically the permanent cosmetics is a form of tattooing. Obviously just different art. So from a zoning and land use standpoint, we did combine them. So the tattoo shop or permanent cosmetics, to get that license through the state at that location, so that she can register her license, she does have to go through the zoning process. The state office confirms with our planning department to make sure that it is zoned properly. It is allowed in C3. This PD actually only allows for a beauty salon, so that's the only use that was originally put in place. This is obviously adding that one service to the existing beauty salon. So that's obviously their intention. Does that answer your question?
It does not allow tattooing. It would only be the permanent cosmetics.
Right. And like I said, the license, they could do tattoos, but we're not opening it as a tattoo shop. It's a beauty salon that has permanent cosmetics as part of that. That awkward overlap of the state licensure versus land use. They are one and the same, but clearly not their
It
intention.
is an existing beauty
Yes,
salon.
existing beauty salon, and you've been open for
18 years in February. Been there 18 years.
well-established beauty salon.
No, I don't need any help.
Yeah. That's for you, okay.
Yes, and your wife.
Yeah.
Is there any impact to the parking requirements?
Yeah, since they're not doing any addition to the building, there'd be no change in parking.
Right.
As you can see, they do have parking off of Lewis Street behind the building.
Mhm.
That would be similar and consistent with RT. Again, this is zone PD. To the north, to the west, and to the south is zone R1. Across Lewis is RT. So we're right at that transition between the residential and the commercial businesses. So it's still a good fit, consistent with zoning policies, consistent with the comprehensive plan. So staff recommends the approval of the case. I'm not changing any of the other conditions from the original PD. Those were based on parking and locations and that kind of thing. Just adding that one additional use.
You haven't opened the public hearing yet, have you?
Correct.
All right. Any other questions before I go to public hearing? Okay, 4:58, open the public hearing. Do we have any callers?
Ms. Franchini, do we have any callers? Ms. Franchini, do we have any
Anybody
callers?
fall asleep?
No callers.
Technical difficulties. All right, at 4:59, we will close the public hearing. I'd say that this location is about 2 blocks from my house, and I've driven past it several times a day for the past 18 years. They have done an incredible work on that house. It looks beautiful. It's always kept nice.
Still working.
Still-
Get a new roof and paint, so.
All right.
Wait to see what
Their signage, their parking, their lighting at night. It's a very safe and secure and well-kept property. Good example of for others to follow. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll
Got a
second.
We got a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 6-0. And I believe that's about it. Do we have any staff reports?
We are still working on the subdivision code, the rewrite for that. We have a meeting with the code review committee on the 12th to present the next chapter, which is getting more into the the nuts and bolts of the procedure for plating and the new changes with state law. As you guys have heard many times, we're following those new state law changes. They're just not reflected in our code, which kind of triggered the rewrite. In the meantime, cleaning up and updating some other stuff. I think our current code was written in the early 80s. Not that subdivisions have changed that much, but just updating to current standards. So we're still working through that process with the code review committee. And we do have 3 or 4 cases lined up for December 3rd. So we'll plan on seeing you at that meeting.
All right.
Not another meeting in November.
That's correct. So happy Thanksgiving.
Any final thoughts? Okay, 5:01, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.